taking, this is our time. Just breathe, this won't be a hard fight. The truth cash out in the night.
Hello, everybody. Hola from South Florida. It is going to be a cold one. I just checked the weather, and in the morning when I get up, it's supposed to be 32 degrees with a wind chill in the upper 20s, like 28, 29 degrees. So South Florida does get cold. It's one of those very rare occasions, but we got a serious cold front. So anybody who lives north of Florida, I bet you're freezing. I bet you're extremely cold. So try to stay warm. A lot going on, guys. I want to apologize for Johnny. He won't make it tonight. He has some family obligations with the kids. They do play sports and stuff like that. And with the new baby, they got to kind of, take turns doing what needs to be done for the kids. And you can't blame him. He is a great father and a great friend. So that's why we have two hosts. That way the show must go on, and we will take care of everything, and Johnny's always in our prayers. So far, who do we got going? Hey, John was the first one in tonight. John Stewart, great guy. Good to see him. Icebox is here. Good to see you, Icebox. And Icebox is a really, really dear friend. We had a great conversation today talking about certain things. And there's Day Tripper. Hey, how you doing, Day Tripper? It's always great to see you. She says, yep, it's flipping cold. It is cold. Occasionally I step outside and I come right back in. I don't do cold weather, guys. Just don't like it. I can camp in it, but I prepare and I've got everything I need. I got a fire going and every stuff like that and hot coffee and I'm good to go. But to just be out in it sucks. It really does. That's why I live in South Florida, because I like warm. I think if I ever won the lotto or something like that and had to move somewhere warm, I would try to find out the warmest place in the world. Probably move to some island in the Pacific or something. So, but like I said, Johnny won't be here tonight, but we'll definitely keep him in our thoughts. A lot going on. Been busy. I want to do a shout out to a lot of my subscribers on my channel, which is Bigfoot Florida Guy. Been a phenomenal week this week for my channel, and I'm very happy, especially since I haven't been able to do what I've been wanting to do for quite some time. But it's the channel's growing and it's doing well, and I just want to thank the subscribers. Our goal for this particular channel, Sasquatch Redactor, was 500 subscribers for the first year. We got 491. We missed the goal, but we're close. So we definitely would like to at the end of this year, if God blesses us and we have another year, to hit 1,000. So, but that's all in you guys' hands, subscribing and being a part of the show. So, and okay, Frank, maybe we'll mention that when he comes on. So we have a guest tonight. His name is Michael Cook, and great guy. I've gotten to talk to him a couple times. Good guy. I really like this guy, and he's a fellow veteran. And us, me and Johnny, both being veterans, we really enjoy having veterans on the show. He is a researcher. He is an author. Just all around a good guy. He is up in the Alabama area, so I'm going to introduce him to Icebox and have him have a conversation with Icebox, since Icebox does an Alabama football channel and a Bigfoot channel. So maybe Michael can participate in both of those. Just all around great guy. And one of the cool things was, and I have a little clip here, Mike was on a TV program, These Woods Are Haunted, and I will play that quick clip and bring Mike on the show.
I'm thinking, uh-oh, what's going on here?
It's flesh and blood that can pick you up and take you away.
This could be a potential fatal encounter.
And here's Mike himself. How you doing, Mike?
Oh, that's cringy, man.
Yeah, they leave it on a cliffhanger, don't they? Just so everybody knows, Mike did not die. He's here. He
I
made it. He survived.
I went out with this girl one time, and her son was we were watching. I don't know why she wanted to watch this show, and we were watching it, and the little boy cracked me up. He's like, I hope they survive. And I'm like, me too, buddy. It was a wild experience. It's not the first thing or last thing I've done as far as television goes, but that's probably the most recognized. They say that's the most watched episode of the series, and I run into people all the time that see it, and um, yeah, it was a wild experience, and that we'll talk about that whole incident when the time comes, and uh, but yeah, you were talking about it being cold in South Florida. It is butthole cold here.
I bet
This
anybody north of us has got to be freezing their tailbone off.
It got up to 40 today, and it was nice. It wasn't bad. I'm from Kentucky, so they haven't been much above 30 in the past few weeks, and they're getting snow and everything else. So I count my blessings on that. But I
Yeah,
told somebody at work the other night, I said, it's cold here, and they're like, yeah. I'm like, that wasn't part of the lie they told me to get me here.
right.
Uh, they
Yeah, I
said
was
that the winters were mild.
Yeah, I was talking to Icebox earlier, and he's currently up in Indiana, and he said it was so cold up there, and that they were shutting down roads. I mean, it was cold, and I've lived in North Carolina for a few years. I've lived in Chicago a couple of
Yeah.
times, two separate occasions in my life. I was in Chicago for, I think the first time was a year and a half, second time was just under a year and a half, and it sucks. It just literally sucks. I understand why crime is so high up north because you're miserable. You're angry.
That's
you know?
that's I have several friends from New York, and they have that. No offense, New Yorkers, y'all have that little attitude, that little personality quirk about you. But I get it. I
Mhm.
understand 100%. I walked out. I went to the gym this morning, and I walk out, and I just had this look on my face the whole time
Mhm.
I was at the gym because I knew I'd have to walk back out in it. And, cold weather, Bigfooters know this so well. I haven't gotten a bead on anything down here yet because all I'll do is work. And when I'm not working, I'm working on the next book. And so I'm currently researching, but I'm researching for this next book. And you know, in Kentucky, we'll use Kentucky because that's where I've spent most of my time at. Wintertime fell off dead as far as encounters go. You get one, maybe two eyewitnesses to pop up and say, "Oh, I saw something," I was deer hunting and heard something, or anything like that. But there's a group of us in Kentucky or from Kentucky that theorized that these creatures, their times of year were fall and early spring. We theorized that they went underground in the cave systems there in Kentucky during the extreme heat, extreme winters. So it would explain a lot if they do go underground and all this stuff. But
Yeah, I was
no, the
talking
weather.
to David Sidoti earlier today because
Mhm.
we're talking about this outing that they're having this weekend that I was going to try and make it to. But in that conversation, I made the comment. I was like, "Well, try to stay warm because it's going to be freezing cold." and he was like, "That's the best time for squatching. That's when they're moving. That's when they're out." Which probably in Florida it is because the heat is so friggin' bad. And
Yeah.
in Florida, it's not only just so hot and so humid that the mosquitoes are so bad. I mean, you can't take a breath in without swallowing a handful of them. So I think wintertime is probably a good time for them. You know what I mean? And to move and get around and stuff. And it's less people. I prefer to camp out when there's less people, so I've tolerated the cold. But and I've had my share of encounters because it was cold. But so there might be something to it in Florida. But they may, who knows? They may hibernate up in north.
It's still the jury's out on a lot of this stuff when it comes to Bigfoot.
Yeah,
We, you can come up with algorithms, you can come up with these patterns that sometimes you'll hit it right on bullseye and have a good prediction of what the next year is going to happen, what it's going to do. And for years, every single one of us, you've been in it for 21 years, I've been in it for 23, and you know as well as I do, for years, several of us would say next year is the year of Bigfoot. We're going to find something that's going to prove everything. And then
yeah.
the next year comes, and we are no closer.
No, I use the
Now,
analogy golf. You know what I mean? Back in when I was younger, in my 20s and stuff, I used to play golf all the time, and I wasn't a great golfer at all. I enjoyed it, but I wasn't great at it. And I'd have a horrible round of golf. But then you hit that one good ball, and that brings you back next week. You're like, I'm coming back next week. I think it's the same with bigfooting. Is you go out, you can go out 1,000 times and draw a zero every time. But then that one time you go out, you catch a great vocal or you find some great evidence, and bam, you're right back at it again. You know.
oh yeah, it's the same with us, and I've used that analogy a lot. We go out 100 to 1,000 times, nothing happens, and we say we're going out 100 times, and this is it. If nothing happens in 100 times, I'm selling everything I've got. I'm packing it up, and I'm never doing this again. And then the way the universe works, you go out for that 100th time,
Yep.
and you've already taken pictures of all your equipment, and you're going to put it on sale. And at 100th time, you get a tree knock, you get a vocalization, you something happens, and you're like, well, I'm going to take that right back off sale, and I mean, we've been in this stuff over 20 years. That's a career, man. That most people after 20 years start looking at retirement.
It's a
And
long-term hobby. There's no doubt about that.
oh yeah, it's a very long-term hobby, and it's a frustrating hobby.
But you got to love it. That's why we do it.
Mhm.
Because it's not only do we love it, we believe in it. We believe what we're doing, and that makes all the difference in the world.
I started telling people when I speak at places. I speak at a lot of different conferences and festivals throughout the year, and I tell people all the time, if you think for one moment that none of us have ever just been out in the woods and stopped what we were doing and looked around and went, from an outsider looking in, we do look kind of crazy.
Oh yeah, absolutely. There's a lot of times when I'm out there, and I've been stopped by occasionally. Where I go, I don't run into very many people, but they'll ask me, because I got the backpack, I got the chest camera, and all this stuff going on. They'll
What
ask
you
me what I'm
doing,
doing,
buddy?
and I just look at them. I'm going, I photograph nature. I just leave it at that because, yeah, one, I don't want to draw attention to what I'm doing and drawing people out there and stuff. But two, I don't want to spook them. I don't want them to say, "Oh shit, there's a crazy guy out here in the woods." You know what I mean? And so I just kind of leave it very simple. I just do
I
nature photography, which I am doing. That is my ultimate goal. And if I get film of Bigfoot, it is nature filming. So
I tell people if they ask me what I'm doing, I'm either looking for unicorns or dragons.
Yeah.
It's actually it saves a lot of argument, and if because they're going to go, okay, this guy's crazy, and they're going to walk off. But I've had instances where I have said, well, I'm a Bigfoot researcher, and then get in a full blown argument in some kind of state park with some guy that he wants to debate what, hey, holy crap, Frank
Yeah.
Gilliton's on here.
I know I keep throwing those up there to see if you catch on. He said earlier that y'all are from the same hometown.
Yeah, Frank and we know each other very well. Frank's got a copy of my book. Um,
Yeah,
yeah,
Frank is a great guy.
he
Frank.
um he is I feel like Frank and I hung out a long time ago when we were kids. Um, yeah, Frank's down your way. And but yeah, no, get in full blown arguments with people that it's coming. I have it Frank, look here, right here. I know you can't see it because it's camouflaged. There it is right there. There's the next book. It it's right here. It's just got to be tomorrow. I'm finalizing everything. I don't have anything going on whatsoever, and the next volume to this crazy project I started on, um, it's coming to a head, and we're ready to start printing. But yeah, get into debates and arguments with people, and I do that. I had a guy come up to me a couple years ago in a store in Walmart, and I feel like I was in the produce section or somewhere. I was minding my own business. I was wearing something about like what I've got on right now. I wasn't wearing anything Bigfoot related. And he walks up to me and goes, you're that Bigfoot researcher. And I'm like, yeah. And he's like, well, I'm gonna tell you why they don't exist. And I'm like, can I buy my peppers? I mean, can I'm trying to grocery shop, and but since you're going to do this, let's go ahead and do this. And for 15 minutes, he sat and told me about how I've wasted my life. I'm stupid. I'm delusional. I'm a liar. And all this stuff. And at the end of it, I went, "Are you done?" And he goes, "You don't have any. Well, you tell me why they exist." And I'm like, "It ain't going to matter. It doesn't matter why I think they exist. You have already determined
Hmm.
that you don't they don't exist. So to save argument, to save stress, we're just going to agree to disagree. You have a wonderful day." And you know, he's like, "Well, you're not even going to talk to me." And I'm like, 15 minutes of my life I will never get back, brother.
Yep.
And
I've had people the same way that come at it with a negative tone like that, and I always look at them. I go, with what I'm doing, how does that affect you? How does it affect your life?
it
Well,
doesn't.
it doesn't. Then it doesn't matter. Then it doesn't
That's
matter.
what I've
See what
told
I'm
I've
saying?
told family members, like, is it causing you to lay in bed at night and lose
Right.
sleep that okay, I'm out glorified hiking. Okay. I'm doing something that 75% of the population do for a pastime. I'm out hiking in the woods. I just happen to be looking for something off. But if it's causing you to lose sleep at night and you're laying there awake and it's pissing you off that I'm doing this, then I can recommend trazodone. It'll calm your thoughts and you
Hmm.
can go to sleep. because I'm not going to quit what I'm doing because it bothers
Yeah.
you. In fact,
And
I'm
that's
going to do it more.
yeah, and that's the point I make to him. How is it what I'm doing? How is that affecting you? How is that changing anything in your life? Because if it is, then you need to answer those questions. Why is it affecting you? Why is it becoming a problem in your life? When, like you said, I always use the comment that when I go out researching, it's a win-win. If I don't get anything while I'm out there, it doesn't matter. I'm still hiking, camping, I'm in nature, I'm in the wilderness. It's a win-win. They are both things I enjoy doing. So,
In this next book, um, I talk about that at toward the end that for the most part, Bigfooters, I'm sorry, but I'm including us into it.
hmm
We can't see the forest for the damn trees because we're looking for Bigfoot. And we we come out of the woods and say, I've had friends, close personal friends of mine. I'll say, hey, did you get anything? Nah, man, nothing happened. Okay. Well, and they're down, they're depressed and all this. I'm like, all right, well, maybe next time. Well, we came across this waterfall. Um, what waterfall? I had this guy. I've known him for a long time, 15, 20 years. He said we come across this waterfall and didn't look at it like anybody had been there. I'm like, you were in your area, and he goes, yeah. I said, I didn't even know that waterfall was there. Like you probably were the first people to ever find that waterfall in over 100 years.
hmm
You found something. You
yep,
you you experienced something.
yep,
It wasn't Bigfoot. It wasn't nothing like that. But it was something that you get to do. I know people in my personal life, Rick, that have never been off a sidewalk,
hmm
that have never been outside of a city park, let alone a national park, or dropped off in the middle of nowhere in Montana.
hmm
I know people, and they live vicariously through us.
Oh, absolutely. And that was one of the motivators when I started a YouTube channel, and I used to say it all the time. Back in the day, that I want them to live through me. I'm going on a journey, and I'm taking you with me. See what I'm
Hmm.
saying? They see the trails I'm on. They see the wilderness I'm in. They see me breaking brush. When I find something, they see it. Hey, I think I found this. Hey, let's look at this. Because there's a lot of people that can't do what we're doing. Either it be they just live in an area that they have no access to forest, or life is too busy to get them out, or it could be health reasons why they can't get out. And we do it. They can follow us. Just follow us. And today we didn't get nothing, but man, wasn't the scenery beautiful today? You know what I mean?
Well, you're talking about health problems. One of my closest friends on this earth. In fact, he is wrote the forward to the next book. Terry Wendell. He's from Rock Hill Bigfoot. Look him up. He's Rock Hill Bigfoot on Facebook and so forth. Um, Terry and we're research partners. We have had some serious stuff go on in the woods in South Carolina together, and um, Terry just recently got sick with a medical problem, and he calls me, tells me what's going on. He goes, "I guess my bigfooting days are limited and all this stuff." And dude, no, get out more.
hmm
With your heart and everything, you got to get out more, brother. And don't go out and crawl up the Matterhorn. Don't try to tackle Everest, but there's there's nothing wrong with getting out and going. You just gotta take it a little easier
Right.
and
Take your time.
take your time. And sometimes, I know people, man, I know Bigfooters, especially the new ones. And I'm giving you all a hard time now, you newbies. y'all get decked out in tactical gear, and you got your rucksack on, and there's a camera hanging off of every pocket, and you got a parabolic going this way, and you got a parabolic going this way. Your hands are full. I've had more experiences with nothing more than my cell phone in my pocket.
Yep. I've brought that up
And
a million times and said with today's day and age, with the technology that we have, and I have an S22 Ultra, which is now 4 years old. The camera on it is amazing, and the
mhm,
voice recorder on it is amazing. I've caught stuff on the voice recorder that I didn't hear standing there, and that's really all you need. You know what I mean? You
I've
have
got
two
I've
tools
got the
right there at your
order.
hand.
I've got pre-order for the 26 Ultra coming out. So
I'm looking into it.
and
I just really love my 22.
and you can still hear me. I'm going to get off camera. I'm going to show you something. Uh, Here in the last few months, I made a purchase, and I always wanted to get into this, and I thought for sure that I would waste a bunch of money because I'd crash it into a tree or something. And I bought this little doodad, and this is by far no paid promotion, or I'm not being paid to push this stuff at all. But
Mhm.
that little feller right here is a DJI Neo,
Mhm.
and super duper easy. It comes with a remote. You hook your phone up to, like it's like a Xbox
Yeah.
controller,
I have a
and all
drone. I
that.
fly a drone
Yeah,
sometimes when I'm out there. I have the DJI Mini 4K.
that yeah,
Mhm.
these things, man, they're awesome,
Yeah,
and
and
not breaking the bank.
no, no. And the thing is, and I tell people there is no perfect tool. They all have their limitations, but it's a combination of how many tools you have in your tool belt. And I use it for a couple of things. One is I do use it for B footage in some of my research when I put out, a 30-minute video. I'll do some aerial and stuff like that with some music. But if I'm in an area that I can't get to where I want to go due to a canal or a pond or something like that, or very thick, I can launch this thing, fly over there, look around, and bring it back to see if it's a viable area that I should go over to. So it definitely has its things. Now I think the ones that gets me is the ones that have the thermal, or they say, oh, if I ever get a thermal drone, I can prove the existence of Bigfoot in 30 days. Listen, as a person that flies a drone and as a person that deals with thermal, it doesn't really matter. If you fly that drone at night with thermal running, you still can't see past a tree canopy. You really can't. And
There's
it's
very good footage of a incident that happened on a TV show, Expedition Bigfoot, and it was the season they were in Kentucky. They filmed in my research area up there, and when they threw their thermal up, the trees
mhm.
lit up,
Oh yeah,
and with radiant heat and all this, the laws of thermodynamics. Um, unless you fly over somewhere that's colder and you pick up a heat signature, then thermal drones, they're still tweaking them.
yeah,
And even thermals, even FLIR, the you can go, I mean, have at it. You want to go buy a $40,000 FLIR that's got all these capabilities on it, then have at it. But you know, eh, at the end of the day, it has been proven time and time again, over and over again. Pictures and video and recordings are not enough
mm,
to prove these creatures exist. If that was the case, then that right there would have been proof enough in 1967.
Yeah.
The Patterson Gimlin film would have been proof enough, and that would have been case closed, and that would have been it. But it's not enough. Thermal. I'm sorry, it's not enough. The Russell Accord on Expedition Bigfoot got very good thermal, the best thermal, in my opinion, on that show. And science is just like, oh, okay, cool.
Hmm.
That's, I mean, I, again, I'm not paid promoter by any means, but just like the video, I know people on here and maybe you have seen the video that they got out there when the bear that Russell was looking at stood up on two legs and walked up that hill. And in my opinion, they did get footage of one of these creatures. It's not enough. Thermal and video and recordings, the Sierra sounds. Crypto linguists have not been able to figure out what this is. It is above human capabilities. It is it is a language. There's articulation going on. The night the incident happened on These Woods Are Haunted, that night I heard what can only be described as samurai chatter, which is what the Sierra sounds are.
Well,
And but it
let's lead up to that. Let's go through your history. Let's go from the beginning, and let's lead up to that so we can, when we
okay.
get to that particular thing, we can get into detail on those experiences. So let's go back to your very first, you know, whatever motivated you to get out there or your first encounter.
So my first encounter happened when I was 16 years old, and it is the very first chapter. I said the first chapter was indigenous peoples, but the very first chapter in this book is properly called the Riverbank, and this happened in eastern Kentucky in Harlan County. I skipped school one day and I went fishing on a riverbank, and beautiful morning. It's in October. Most of my encounters, after years and years of doing this, most of my encounters have happened in October. And they, beautiful morning. I was standing there fishing, and the sun was coming up over the ridge and all this stuff. Frank Middleton knows exactly where this happened at, by the way. Um, and Frank, if you're still on here listening and watching, the you know where the benches are before you get to the dam at Martin's Fork. It's the benches wasn't there when we were kids, if you remember. So they're there now. But right there at the second set of benches is where this happened at. And something was walking across the ridge. And I mean, obviously I never thought Bigfoot. I never, not once did Bigfoot ever cross my mind. It was silly. I probably heard about Bigfoot or Sasquatch or whatever before then, but I was like most skeptics out there. You all are crazy, you know. And I thought it was squirrels playing or a deer. We have elk in Kentucky, and at that time they just had released some. I hadn't even got to see any. And I said, maybe that's an elk because you could hear it. It was pretty heavy. And 23 years later, I still don't know what exactly happened. It took a wrong step. It slipped. It tripped. It done something. This thing come rolling down this hill, and it was hauling it, man. I mean, end over end. and it sounded like somebody threw off a Volkswagen Beetle off that ridge. It sounded like a tree falling, and I kind of stepped back a little bit. I was like, what is that? And you could hear grunts "Uh," as it's coming down the hill, and right off into the water, into the river, this big ball of fur just rose off into it. And obviously, I'm thinking, oh, hell, that's a bear, you know? Because that's what it looked like. When it rolled off the hill, it was in a ball and it rolled off into the river. And when it stood up, I said, that's not a bear. And I'm probably 50, 60 feet away from this thing. And by this time, I'd already laid my fishing pole down. And it held its arms up and it come out of the water on the other side of the riverbank, thank God. And it got up on a little flat there on the side of the riverbank, and it started shaking off like a big dog. And it was uh, it was pushing water off of its fur, off its hair. And what I noticed the most about that, and we're talking a long time ago, um, was its hands. It was very dexterous when it comes to its hands, and it was taking its hands and wringing the water off of the hair off its elbow, and I compare it to almost human-like activities. Like it was very human-like in its actions. It was just trying to dry itself off. And I've heard other people talk about how they shake like a dog, and that it didn't do that. It didn't do that that day. It could have. I mean, but it didn't that day. They could, but it didn't that day. And it turned around and started walking up the hill from whence it came. I love saying that, by the way. Um, it started walking back up the hill, and I guess I started breathing again because I had held my breath this entire time. And I let out a sigh. And when I did, it stopped and it turned, looked over its shoulder, and then it made one move and swung around and squared up. And there we are. By this time, it's 80, 90 foot away from me. It's pretty close. And we just stood there for a moment having eye to eye contact. And it would look down at the ground and it would look back up at me. It looked back down at the ground, almost like it was hoping that I wasn't going to be there. And finally, it got this look on its face like it was almost embarrassed that it fell into the river in front of a human. I fell into a river in front of this kid. He's going to laugh at me. So it done what I guess what it knew to do, and super dark area. They don't call it the deep dark hills of eastern Kentucky for nothing, but it let out these heavy, loud, guttural screams, just two or three times. I don't know, three or four times, and I finally figured it out. I said, "I've got to run," and I'll get to that in just a second. On that comment, I gotta run. I gotta get to the car. I'm probably 100 yards from the car, and at the time, I'm not a short, fat little dude. At the time, I took off running, and I'm running as hard as I can. And I guess I was talking to my therapist about this one day, and I said I heard it running behind me, and my therapist put something in my head and went, "You think it was your heart?" And I said, "Holy crap!" My heart was beating so hard that I could hear it. And I thought this thing was behind me
Hmm.
running. And I get to the car, I jump in, I close the door, and it's just like a scary movie, man, from back in the 70s. I'm dropping my keys on the floor and I'm looking around because I know this thing's gonna bust the window out. It's gonna grab me, it's gonna take me up in the woods. That's gonna be it. And no, it would never nowhere around me. It was it had ran the other way, I guess. And so I sat there for a minute and I was trying to collect my thoughts and I started hyperventilating. So I rolled down the window and then I heard it up on the ridge. And I went, okay, let's roll that window back up. And I sat there and no shame whatsoever. I sat there and cried for a minute. I mean, I was terrified. I don't know if anybody's people have been in if you've ever been in a situation where you are so scared, that's the only thing you can do is cry. That is where I was at that moment. And
Yeah, a lot of that has to do with the adrenaline dump, that your body
yeah,
does from the fear. A lot of people either get very emotional or they throw up. You know what I mean? Because that
uh,
adrenaline dump is so intense.
if I had had anything to eat that morning, I guarantee you I'd have thrown up. And I'm driving home. I finally collect myself and I said, okay, I'm driving home and I'm thinking, okay, I've got to tell my parents. I've got to tell my parents what I saw. And then that other voice in my head goes, they're gonna think you're crazy. They're gonna call you a liar. Might even take you to the psych ward. And I'm like, so I sat there and argued with myself that, and I get home and I look at my dad, and my dad's like, he knew that I skipped school, by the way. They knew. I was a good kid. I didn't do this often. And I said, Dad, he said, did you see anything? No. Catch anything? No. Well, we wasted the day, didn't you? Yeah. Rick, for a year, close to it. I couldn't tell you the exact date. For a year, I kept that to myself. And I'll never forget one night I was on the couch. I was watching TV with dad, and we were watching Unsolved Mysteries. And for the most part, that show covered missing people. It was missing 411 before David Pilatus come out with his. It covered missing people. Every now and then it would cover alien encounters. I think Travis Walton's encounter was on there a couple of times. That night in particular was the unsolved mystery of Bigfoot. And my dad said that when Patty, they showed the Parrish and Gimlin footage, when Patty walked across the river bank, I look up and every bit of the color drains out of my face. And dad said, you all right, bud? And I said, Dad, I got to tell you something, and I don't know how to tell you. And he said, well, just tell me. And I said, Dad, I seen one of those. Where? Up on the riverbank about a year ago, Martin's Fork. He said, well, what happened? And, I go through this whole deal about how it was, fell into the river. And then it dawns on me, Rick, that my dad wasn't sitting there laughing and he wouldn't, shawing me off. He was looking at me very intently. And I said, Dad, do you do you believe me? And he went, yeah, I do, son. And I said, what do you mean? What do you know? And he went through this whole big thing. And I said, huh. So what you're saying is, and he cuts me off and said, and what he said, the next few words, the next sentence he said, the statement he said, propels me into the next 23 years of my life was, I know because they're out there. And if my dad was on board with this, then it was okay. I don't care. I didn't care how many people called me crazy or who called me crazy. For years though, Rick, I went through trial and error. I joined teams, I joined groups and stuff. And what I realized in the last 8 years, God, it's been 8 years. What I no, I'm sorry, it's not been 8 years. It has been 9 years, 10 years, 10 years this year will be in 2016. It's hard to believe it's 2026. Huh. Um, what I realized in the last 10 years is that keep my circle small
Hmm.
and more good things will happen. More experiences will happen. You're more flexible when you keep that circle small. So Terry Wendell, Glenn Mink, I'm gonna get down to South Florida and go out with you and Frank Middleton and all them guys some point.
Yeah, yeah.
Um,
I'm sure.
but
I've tried to get. Well, I wouldn't say I tried. Frank has mentioned a few times that he wants to get with me and go out. Um, we can plan something. I got some great areas around here.
the but I found myself in the last 23 years all over the world, man. I mean, places I never thought that I'd ever be. And, I researched in Montana a lot, um, Northern California. Had a great trip back in 2016 with a buddy of mine. His name was Jeff Ellis, and Jeff has since passed. He died a few years ago. We went to the Patterson Gimlin site and we had a really good time. We heard things. We ran into a bear, which was terrifying. Um, but I look at that event that happened when I was 16. There are some days when I wish it never happened, and there's other days that I thank God and the universe that it happened because I never would have had the experiences and met the people that I've met, the good and bad, both good and bad people and good and bad experiences. I've learned a lot and I'm still learning. There's nobody on the face of this earth that knows everything there is about Bigfoot unless it's some kind of curmudgeon hermit that has not been in society for 20 years, living out in the middle of nowhere, and he sits down on his front porch and eats dinner with one of these every night.
Right. He
There's no man.
somehow at some level has habituated with them, and they share biscuits and stuff. Yeah.
That's right. And 23 years ago, if you would have asked me what these creatures are, I would have given you a matter of fact answer. No argument. Because I mean, we were all at that moment in our life where we knew exactly what these creatures were. I would have said, if you looked at me 23 years ago and said, Mike Cook, what are these creatures? I'd said undiscovered species of primate, nothing more, nothing less. If you would have told me that I was writing a book about the supernatural and the woo aspect of Bigfoot 23 years into the future, I would have laughed at you. I would have never thought that. So, and I kept that mindset that these were some kind of primate. And until 2015, 11 years ago, Glenn Mink and I were, we, So people from Kentucky, and if you want to look at this, you're more than welcome to go there. It's called the Pinnacles of Berea. And Glenn Mink and I had been researching in the Daniel Boone for a while, and we were looking for with hunting season and stuff like that, man. It wasn't only hard to get out and research, it was dangerous. You know, you we go to this one research area near Moorhead, Kentucky in October, November, and it would sound like World War III was opening up. Wow, um, very dangerous times getting out. So we looked at this area, and this particular place is called the Pinnacles of Berea, and is maintained by Berea College. It is now owned by Berea College, and they do their forestry training there and stuff. We found some old BFRO reports, and I said, it'd be worth it. Let's try this out. So the latter part of 2014, we got a game plan, and in 2015, we hit it head on, and we went in there, and for months, man, we would be in there every single weekend, and this is not at all a stroll in the park. This is a 9 mile hike round trip to get up to where we would research at, away from people, and every weekend, man, we would get up there. And it was November of 2015, around the first of the month. We were up there, and think it was on Saturday or Sunday one. And at the top of this mountain where the trails butt up at, it's called the Crow's Foot. And the trails are literally the Crow's Foot. You got a trail coming this way, and then three trails that split off. One goes to the left, one straight down the mountain, one goes to the right out to the west part of the pinnacle. And Glenn and I were having a friendly argument about how are we going to get off here. We want to, because left and right's going to be longer. We go straight down the mountain. It's a little tougher, but we'll get to the car pretty quick. It cuts the trip in half, just going straight down the mountain. And so we're standing at the Crow's Foot, and we're talking about this. Glenn's wanting to go off to the east. I said, let's just take off right. We're done, so let's just take off down the trail, down the mountain. And he starts walking toward the east, and I said, okay, I guess I'm following. I guess we're going to the east. I guess that's where we're going. And we get a little bit out through there, and there's this big long straight on the trail, and up way ahead of us, way up there was something in the middle of the trail. And Glenn goes, hey, you don't see that every day. So what is that? He said, it's a looks like a bear. And we stood there for a second, and all of a sudden this bear stands up. And him and I both look at each other like, oh, that's that. And he was about 6 foot tall, kind of lanky, kind of skinny, and it took off running on two legs. And we done the one thing you're not supposed to do. We ran after it, guns a blazing. We had our cameras out and everything. And we get up there, and you could see where it went through the leaves and stuff and kicked up leaves. And we get to this, we followed it around. We get to this one part, and you could hear it moving in the foliage. So I get my camera out and I'm standing there filming and I'm trying to find it in the viewfinder and everything. And I'm like, I said, Glenn, I think I've got it. I think I've got it. He said, which one are you looking at? What do you mean? He said, look to the left. And I looked to the left and in the camera footage, Glenn has the footage. I think I've got it on Google Drive. In the camera footage, you just see my camera drop. And I'm standing there staring straight at it's a Bigfoot and the little Bigfoot. And they're pretty close. They're 35, 40 feet away from us. The little one is kind of bobbing back and forth looking at us, but the big one's not moving. He is staying straight. He's got his fist clenched, his chest puffed out, very primate like. And he is locked dead on us, Rick. And I said, I'm sorry, folks. I said, oh shit. We might not be able to tell this story. And Glenn said, what do we do? I said, don't look them in the eyes. I know that. Don't ever do that. Don't ever look. I don't care if it's a Bigfoot, a lion, a big
Hmm.
dog. Don't ever look at anything like that in the eyes because you challenge them. And I said, just start backing up. And we started backing up. And when we started backing up, they started backing up. And then you hear stomping and going on, and they just disappeared. Like they just poof, gone. You could hear them stomping down the trail. The big one was mumbling, almost like it was giving the little one hell. Like you are so stupid. I can't believe you've done this, you know. And Glenn and I guarantee you, we stood there for an hour just looking at each other. Like this happened. I went. This was
How,
2015, huh?
let's go back to the first sighting and this sighting and talk about their size. Give us a description of their size, heights, widths, anything that
So
you can give us on what they look like.
I went back to the original site that I had my first encounter with. Frank Middleton can attest to this. Um, went out. I I went out in the summertime, and I know that water and the rivers they fluctuate. So that's you're not going to tell me nothing that I don't know. Uh, for those who know more than me, I went out in the summer because I'm not getting in cold water. I hate cold water with a passion. Um, I get this attitude if I wash my hands and the water doesn't warm up in time. Um, so I walk out into the river about where this thing fell into, and it was up to my chin, the height of the river. So estimating by that, and I could give you the dimensions, but I'm telling you this is how I know how tall this thing was. Estimating by that, I am 5'9". Okay, so that means that my chin to the top of my head is around 7 inches. So drop that down. It's 5'2" right there. It was up to its chest line on that Bigfoot. That means there was a good 2 to 2.5 feet sticking out. Now, I'm 5'9". I have a 7'2" reach. My arm is somewhere around 23 inches long. I think is the last time I had a suit mate or something. was my wrist was my the tips of my fingers were 23 inches. I have very long monkey arms. I have ape-like arms. Short legs and little arms, or short legs and long arms. Made like a orangutan. Um, but judging from that, there was approximately 8 feet,
Mm.
and that's quotation marks on the approximately. I couldn't tell you. It could. I can't. Well, it was 8 foot one, 8 foot two. I don't know. It was 8 foot, 7.5 to 8 foot tall. Is how tall this creature was. The first one I saw. Fast forward to 2015, and we're talking 13 years had passed since I had an encounter with these creatures. I've heard things, vocalizations, tree knocks and stuff like that. Found impressions. Were they footprints? Who knows? Um, but judging on the height of the smaller one in 2015, he was around 6 foot tall. The larger one was 2.5 to 3 foot taller than it. So we're looking in the 9 foot range,
Mm.
somewhere between 8.5 and 9 foot tall. Then the one in 2002, we have it had it wasn't a sagittal. It didn't have a sagittal crest. It didn't have a pointed head on it. It was a round head, like a basketball sitting on its shoulders. No neck, deep set eyes. I couldn't tell you what color the eyes were. The hair, the fur came up right under its eyes, and didn't have the primate nose. It had a large, flat nose. I got a buddy who looks just like it. he, he got he got his nose busted one time in high school, and it flattened it out, and his nose was flat. And it, I mean, the nose was large, it was wide and flat. Um, Big Meludgeon brows, prominent brows. Uh, it did show its teeth then. The one in, or the big one in 2015, it didn't open its mouth at all. It stood there, mouth closed, dead set on us. It had a similar look, but it did have the sagittal crest on top of its head. What are those? Guess as good as mine. Are they a primate? Um,
Well, and that's brought up a lot, and I play the devil's advocate because I have my own thoughts on what I believe they are because everybody comes up with their own ideas or theories. But when you sit down with a piece of paper and not even bring up Bigfoot and just write down the descriptions of what people are saying, it really does lean towards a primate. You know,
yeah.
the sagittal crest is due to jaw muscles and it attaches to the head for jaw strength. Gorillas
Hmm.
have that. The longer arms, shorter legs, deep setted eyes, high brow ridge. You know what I mean? They do describe a primate. But then when you get into the other side where it's bipedal, it seems intelligent. It seems to be a very attentive, very self-aware. It's doing things like possibly building structures or whatever. So there's an intelligence level. So that kind of brings in a more human aspect of it. See what I'm saying? So it's one of those things. Until we have a body on the table and we can analyze this thing or somebody's going to analyze this thing, there's always going to be some very, very big unanswered questions.
Well, and I'm so glad you brought that up with unanswered questions. So, like I said, you know, years prior to this incident in 2015, leading up to this, I would have said undiscovered species of primate, nothing more, nothing less. So, about 2 weeks later, we waited until the leaves had completely fell. And Glenn and I went back in there to do.
Oh, I think we lost him there for a minute. If you can hear me, Michael, we're not seeing or hearing you right now. I don't know if the audience can see or hear you, but I'm not seeing or hearing anything. So hopefully, try to go out and come back in and see if that helps. Oh, there you are. We lost you there.
Uh, yeah, I know. My phone. Somebody called me. Um,
Ah, yeah, that
the
happens.
but the so we went back in there and uh, we're going to hang on 4 and 3 off. I'm so sorry. I have ADHD, Rick, and whenever that was one of my coworkers calling me asking me if I was going on the same schedule he's going on. Anyway, I hope so. What I just kind of read while it come up. Um. Anyway, we uh we go back in there. On the way up, we came on in on the east side because this happened on the east side. On the way up, we placed a trail camera, and so we put the trail camera out. We go back out there. We do our recreate. That's where we figured out that the bigger one was about 9 foot tall. We took video and pictures and everything, done our due diligence as researchers. And we went out to the lookout. You can see everything out there. If you watch the TV show, you hear me say, you can see everything. Yeah, you can see everything out there. It's where the mountains meet the bluegrass in Kentucky. Beautiful. So we sat out there and watched the sunset. We came back out. We had our lights on. My light, it was rechargeable, and I did not charge it. And it started blinking. And I said, Glenn, I'm cutting my light off. We'll use yours. So I'm walking right beside of him, and it's pitch black dark by this time. And we get out around the area that we had this encounter 2 weeks prior. So coming toward us was what we thought initially was another hiker. And he had, or they had, a bright blue, prettiest blue light you've ever seen in your life. And I said, I wonder who that is. And Glenn said, man, I don't know. We're the only ones that's ever up here at night. And I said, I don't know. When we get up here though, I'm gonna find out where he got that light at. Because man, it was pretty. It was nice. And it lit up the whole forest. We get closer to it and realize it's not a headlamp. It's not a flashlight at all. It is a ball of light. It's
Hmm.
about the size of a softball. And it's just hovering, and then it starts raising up. It starts ascending. And it gets up to the tree line and gets real bright. And I mean like welder arc bright. And we're like, God Almighty. And it just burst. No sound, no nothing. Just poof, that's it.
Hmm.
Leading up to this, you could hear crickets and forest, normal forest sounds. And I said, Glenn, did you just what was that? He goes, man, I don't know. I said, have you ever seen anything like that? He goes, no, I've never seen anything like that in my life. And I went, cool, cool, cool. So we're on the same page. When we get up there to where this light was, and like I said, we're doing our due diligence. We're not getting overly excited. I'm looking around, thinking, it burst like in a bright flash. There's got to be something here. And I said, Glenn, I don't understand what that was. And Glenn is the best person to ask this get him to tell this story about. Because Glenn said, I don't know either. And about the same time, a rock, roughly the size of a football, comes out of nowhere and flies over our heads and bounces off trees going down the ridge. And Glenn goes, holy shit, what was that? And by the time he got that out of his mouth, I'm halfway down the trail. I'm booking it. I'm hauling ass. And I'm screaming at him, come on, we gotta get out of here. They don't want us here. And we get all the way down to where it kind of kicks back. It's about a three-quarters of a mile down through there. And he goes, did you grab the camera? And I was like, no. He said, we gotta go get the camera. I said, Glenn, no, leave it. We're good. We got to get the
Oh
camera.
shit.
We got to get the camera. So we get back up there, hiked all the way back up that trail, and the camera was in the same vicinity as where the rock came from. And I chickened out. I was like, Glenn, here's my gun. You got a lot. Good luck. I can't do it. I can't do it. I cannot physically step out of this spot right here. So he bounces around through there, and it dawns on me then. I'm like, I'm standing here without a firearm,
Yeah.
without a light or anything. Oh God, I'm stupid.
Yeah,
And
that's the
I
one
start
thing I
hollering.
don't do. Even though it's concealed, nobody can see it. When I'm out with people, and I've gone out with other research groups and everybody else, I always have a firearm on me. They never see it. I don't pull. It's. I think I've pulled it maybe twice ever. You know what I mean? I think one time it was caught on film where I actually you see the front of the gun when I'm filming because of this one incident we had, but that was pretty heightened alert if I could say, but I don't go out
I've
there without
only
it.
I've only drawn once, and I'm leading up to that. But Glenn comes back, and he's got the camera in hand, and we come back down the trail. The whole time, though, Rick, the whole time we were going down the mountain, you could hear and feel, you feel it. Something was right there on that ridge,
Mm.
and it's walking right beside of us the whole time. And as Bigfoot researchers, y'all think that you think that we're it's not going to phase us if we see one of these creatures. No, it does. You when you have that something walking beside of you, and everything in you says, look, but then you have that other feeling goes, don't do it. Don't do it. Don't look over there. And it's terrifying. I mean, and we do it over and over, and it's an adrenaline junkie thing is what it boils down to. But we get down, we get out, and we go home. And I told him, I said, Glenn, holler at me tomorrow. We'll reconvene, look at the camera footage and all that stuff, and let's sleep on what happened tonight and then talk about it tomorrow. And there's science behind that, by the way. But um, I went to bed. It was probably 2 o'clock in the morning, and I don't know, 3:30. My damn phone starts ringing, and I'm like, Whoever it is, I didn't even look at it. I grabbed it and answered. I said, whoever this is better be dead and calling me from the afterlife. I'm killed. And Glenn goes, get up. I said, what? He goes, get up. You got to get up and go to your computer and look at the email I just sent you. I said, I will look at it first thing in the morning, pal. He said, no, do it right now. So I get up and I walk out to my computer and I pull up everything and I'm looking at the pictures and I was like, huh, that's not normal. There were three light anomalies in those pictures. There's no lights back that way. Where we had the camera pointed was roughly 9,000 acres
Mhm.
of untouched wilderness. There's no houses, there's no highways, there's no radio towers, nothing. But there are three lights, balls of light on that picture. And we can't explain that. The light we can't explain none of that. So fast forward, we go we go back in there every weekend to every other weekend and nothing. This goes back to that whole thousand times and out kind of thing.
Mhm.
We we never got nothing. We never heard anything. Hindsight being 2020, there were days when we'd go up there and we wouldn't even hear any birds. That's something right there. That's not normal. That's paranormal. Um the that means there's a presence there. So fast forward on in 2017, halfway through, Glenn and I both came to a collective agreement that we need to let this area seep, give it a rest. Maybe us going in there so much has driven them out. And, let's let's get another plan together, maybe go out somewhere else. We were looking at land between the lakes and Mammoth Cave area and stuff. It was a little bit of a drive. It would have been a weekend trip and would have substantially been uh hard to do every weekend. So we had planned on going down once a month and we did for a while. Um Saw a bunch of lights in the sky in the land between the lakes. Didn't have any
Mhm.
Bigfoot activity happen, but the skies were they were I don't know if they were satellites or if they were airplanes. I know they weren't airplanes because I didn't see the blinking lights. But anyway, in 2018, I start dating this girl, and
Now, is this leading up
she
to the one that was on the These Woods Are
yeah,
Haunted? Okay.
yeah.
Okay. You want me
So
you
I
want me to
start
play that promo again before you get
yeah
into it?
yeah 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 play it.
All right, let's play that again for those of you that didn't see it the first time that came in late. This is the promo here. Let me pull this up. Where did I put it? There it is.
And I'm thinking, uh oh, what's going on here?
It's flesh and blood that can pick you up and take you away.
This could be a potential fatal encounter.
God, I still cringe. Anyway, so Gwen Guthrie, she is a paranormal researcher out of Ohio, and I was on this radio show, and she was a listener, and she found me on Facebook, and we had a few conversations, and then I was appearing at a conference that weekend, one weekend, and I said, "Hey, why don't you be my guest?" She comes down, and we hit it off, and we started hanging out, we started dating, and the rest is history. But She was a paranormal researcher. She is, and she's branched over to the cryptozoology world. But and we're still we're still tight. We still talk and stuff. So we went on October the 3rd, 2018. We went up to Indiana to a place called the Mysterious Monroe House, and some people call it the Demon House. And we spent 2 nights, 48 hours in that godforsaken place. And I'm not a paranormal investigator whatsoever. Ghosts freak me out. And I know that a lot of people will laugh at that because you're a Bigfoot researcher. I can see a Bigfoot, honey.
Mm.
When I'm in the woods, when I'm camping and I'm asleep, I'm not really asleep. I never sleep. I never go in. I'm always very much aware of what's going on when I'm in the woods. And but when I'm in a house that is reportedly plagued by demon activity, I'm pretty much well on the edge. And so we come back on the night of the 5th, and the next morning, paranormal researchers call this paranormal hangover, I guess, where you have so much energy and stuff going on and your body gets pelted with this stuff. I don't know. I'm not a paranormal researcher, but I woke up next morning. I felt like a dog turd, man. I mean, I was rough, and Gwen's like, "We just that's the hangover hitting you." And I'm like, "All right, cool. This is worse than any alcohol hangover I've ever had in my life." And so we get uh, we get collected and we go eat breakfast. And while we're eating breakfast, my buddy Kenny, the guy on the end of the screen there, the one that screams at the end of the video, he uh, he calls and he goes, "Hey, are y'all ready?" I said, "For what?" He goes, "We're going bigfooting today." And man, I totally forgot that I told Kenny to come up on the 6th. And I said, "Oh hell." And Gwen's like, "What?" I said, "We got to take Kenny out bigfooting today." And she'd been wanting to go out. I'd never taken her out. And I was like, "Where do I go? Where do I take them to?" And then I was like, "Hey, we could go to the Pinnacles, even though I don't feel like hiking, but let's go to the Pinnacles. I'll show you all where we saw the light and we saw the two beings and all that. And you know, nothing else. We'll go up to the lookout. We'll check everything out and let y'all see that. Be a good day." So Kenny and Gwen and I, we go up in there. Now, normally I tell this after the story, but right now I'll fill you in on what happened in the beginning. I had my phone plugged up, 100% charge coming out of the car. Uh, we got maybe halfway up the first little stretch, and I felt it vibrate in my pocket. And I thought somebody texted me, so I grabbed it out and I was looking, and it was the battery warning. I had no battery.
Mm.
I said, "My battery is shit out, I guess." And Gwen said, "Well, I got mine, so no worries." She pulls hers out, and it was dying too. Hers was a brand new phone. Well, Kenny, he sees us looking at our phones. Kenny's was already gone. It was dead.
Mm.
Gwen has an external battery pack. So she plugged it up and she had to leave it plugged up the entire trip for it to stay on point. So we get now we didn't plan on being up there after dark, period. So I didn't take flashlight with me. I didn't take nothing with me. I had my mindset. We're gonna go up here. We're gonna look this lookout. Come out of here. I'm gonna be eating pizza and wings and drinking beer by dark. That was my plan. I wasn't on a research trip. No matter what anybody tells you, we were not on a research trip that day. Period. So we get up to the lookout. I show them where the light was and all that stuff. We get up to the lookout and we're watching the sunset. And I'm like, shit. She said, what? And I said, we don't have any lights. And it gets dark here quick. It gets dark, dark there quick. And I'm like, let's start on our way out. Maybe we can get to the car before it gets too dark. Because we don't have any cell phones and we can't use our cell phone lights. Kenny pulls out these three little flashlights, like keychain flashlights. And he was our saving grace. So we get to the crow's foot and I said, listen, the as hard as it is, we need to go straight down the mountain. We got to go straight down. We got to take the it's called the Indian Trail. You got to take the Indian Trail down because I don't know how long these flashlights are going to last, and you don't want to be out on the east side and at dark. I've been out there in the dark with flashlights, and it's spooky, and I don't like it. So let's go straight down the mountain. So we get down this rock formation. You have to pretty much turn around and kind of crawl off of. And I go first. And Kenny kind of goes around it. It's harder to go around it than it is to go straight down. He knows that now. And I'm helping Gwen off, and I hear something on the ridge above us. And it wasn't real loud. It was just subtle enough that I heard it, but Gwen and Kenny didn't. And I thought to myself, that sounded like a footprint. It sounded like a footstep. So I let them go kind of in front of me a little bit, and I was listening, and I'm walking with my left side. There's a reason for that. I'm this ear right here is for decoration only. It don't work anymore. So I with guns and loud music and all that, I guess my hearings went. But I hear something walking beside us, and I stop, and I heard it again, and it made two or three steps after, and I said, "Okie dokie." It's not a bear. It's not a deer. I went down the list and I said, we could. I didn't go automatically into Bigfoot. I said, we could potentially be dealing with something here. So I walk up to Gwen and Kenny, and I didn't alert them by no means. I said, let's step it up a little bit and get on down here where it's flat. Because by that time, my knee and my hip was killing me. And I said, we get down here, we'll in my mind, I'm thinking we'll get down here and we'll try some stuff. So we get down to this little dip. On the TV show, you think we're miles away from our cars. We're not. We're less than 1,000 yards at the very most, 1,000 yards from our car. And I said, guys, y'all have been hearing some stuff out here, ain't you? And they said, oh yeah, yeah, we've heard footsteps or something. Okay, what do you think that is? I don't know, but there's one way to figure it out. And I grab a tree branch, and on the TV show, it shows me smacking a tree three times. I don't smack it three times. I smacked it once, and there's a reason why I smacked it. I've smacked it, and the tree branch broke. But when it broke, it went pow real loud. And instantly, right there on that ridge, hi, right back at me. And I look at Kenny and Gwen. I went, we got something. I knew it. I felt it in my soul. I felt it in my belly. And I said, Gwen, get your camera out and start recording her phone. So she's got it plugged up and she's recording. And Kenny goes, what was that? I said, well, Kenny, it's what we came for. You all wanted a Bigfoot experience, and this is what we're getting. We're the only people here. There's nothing else in the woods that can do that. So this is what we're dealing with. Kenny starts, in so many words, freaking out. And he's like, I'm going to run. And I went, you better not. Don't run. Your number one rule is don't run. These things are predators. You set them in motion, every one of us is going to lose that race. Do not run. Gwen crouches down in to the ground and draws a symbol on the ground. She had Native American lineage. And she said it was for protection. And I told her, I said, Gwen, I don't know exactly what we're dealing with. Well, you're a Bigfoot researcher. I am, but I don't know what we're dealing with. I don't know what these things are. They might look at that symbol and laugh at you. I don't know. I have no idea. She says, I'm okay. Just leave me alone. I said, okay. So I go back over to Kenny. I get Gwen's phone, by the way, and I'm holding the camera. And she didn't have any storage on her phone. So she was doing a YouTube live, but had it set on private where nobody could see it, and it would automatically record over on the YouTube. So for somewhere around, I think it was 53 minutes, you could hear these things walking around us, and they were taking their hands and smacking the trees. And a terrifying experience. And I finally go over to Kenny and I put my hand on his chest. And it was cool. It wasn't cold. It was cool out. But I could feel Kenny's heart beating. And when I pulled my hand off, you could see my handprint from the sweat that Kenny was sweating. And I said, Kenny, you good, bud? And he goes, no, man, my chest is hurting. We got to get out of here. I said, we got to get out of here. Yeah, I've pushed this too far. So I walk up to Gwen and I put my hand on her shoulder and I said, honey, we got to get Kenny out of here. And I didn't think she heard me. And I shook her and I said, Gwen. And when I did, something came running toward us. And I mean, it was mad. And it stopped right outside that flashlight range. And when it stopped, I had unknowingly, I didn't even realize I'd done it. I had pulled my firearm. Gwen had moved from her circle behind me and was hugging the back of my leg. And I was drawn and I said this out loud. I said, stop. We're getting out of here. Leave us alone. And you could hear it back there. Ugh, ugh. And it was walking back and forth at that moment. And I look at Gwen and I said, hey, listen, you and Kenny go ahead. Okay. I got your six back here. She said, no. I said, no, I'm okay with this. And she said, what if something happens? I said, honey, I'm perfectly fine with this. It won't be the first time. I know it ain't gonna be the last time that I've been in a situation. And I said, but I'm okay with this. I'm perfectly fine. If something happens, I've got one in the chamber and nine in the clip. I know I do. It will know that I've been there. But if something should happen, forget what I said about running. Run as hard as you can. Get to the car and get out of here. Then call 911. But don't say Bigfoot.
Yeah, you don't want to do
Uh,
that.
they won't come. So her and Kenny go in front of me, and they're approximately 15 yards in front of me. And in my mind, we were talking about mind speak earlier. In my mind, I'm saying, I'm like, listen, I don't know if any of this is real. As far as mind speak goes, I don't know if any of this is real. But if you can hear me, leave them alone. I put them in this situation. Um, I'm the one you want. And it was almost like I felt something behind me. And I turned and looked over my shoulder. And when I looked over my shoulder, I seen the silhouette of one take one footstep, one one step across an 8 foot trail.
Mm.
And I went, all right, that moment is past. I think I am going to get up here to these guys and we're going to get the hell out of here. And like every bit of the bravery and every bit of all that kind of left. And I said, all right, it's time to go. And I walked up to them. I put my hands on both their backs and I went, don't run, but you got to go a little faster. Let's step it up. So we get down. There's a shelter house there. It's got like a bathroom and stuff. It's got a tin roof on it. And there's a lot. So I said, okay, we can see now. We're good. What y'all thinking? I wanted their initial thoughts. I wanted what they were thinking right then and there. And Gwen said, well, I mean, what else is there to think? These things are real. And Kenny goes, yeah, no doubt in my mind, Bigfoot, there is such thing as Bigfoot. And I said, that's all I wanted. That's all I wanted right there is y'all to acknowledge that. And then the moment passed again when rocks the size of softballs started coming out of the sky and hitting the shelter house and hitting all around us. And that's when we ran onto the car.
Mm.
We still have his camera going. We still have his phone going on YouTube Live being recorded. And we get right there at the car, and all of a sudden, up on this ridge, we hear, ooh, and they sounded off all the way up that ridge, man, all the way up to the top of the mountain. And I look over
Now,
at Gwen, but
is there any place that anybody can see that footage that y'all did that night?
let me finish this. So we get the I look over and Gwen is holding her phone, and I went, "Holy crap! Are you getting this?" She said, "Uh huh." Oh my god! So all this stuff starts going on in my head. I'm like, we've got that footage. We have vocalizations. We have we have experiences going on around us. It's going to be really hard. They'll still argue, but it's going to put our argument ahead. And she goes to share it, stops the recording after the whoops had ended. She stops it. She goes to share it and save it. And the phone glitched.
Mm.
And I went, pull it back up, pull it back up. It got the first 9 minutes, almost an hour, 53 minutes, almost an hour of footage had been like it never happened.
Mm.
I went as far, Rick, to call it. Y'all don't know how hard it is to call YouTube and actually talk to a person. I went as far to call YouTube and I said, "Do y'all keep reports?" And they're like, "Oh yeah, 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 we keep reports." And I said, "Look around 11 to 1 o'clock at night on October 6th and 7th. 11 o'clock on October 6th to 1 o'clock in the morning on October 7th. There wasn't nothing. There were no glitches. There were no system crashes or nothing. Gwen has this footage up, and I think it's on. It used to be Uncharted Paracrypted Research YouTube. Um, if anybody follows me on Facebook, I will try to find that footage in the coming days, and I'll share it. And I'll even send you the link if I can find it. You can share it
Yeah.
too. But there was no. That goes back to this whole. They're nothing more than flesh and blood, undiscovered species of primates. To maybe, possibly, they are endowed with certain abilities that enable them to do stuff that we can't describe or explain. And it's scientifically speaking, a lot of the paranormal stuff, and I'm not saying all of it. Now, if you show me a video that is not tampered with or anything of your dead grandma that died 50 years ago walking through your bedroom in the middle of the night, I'm not going to argue with you. Not going to argue with you. However, if a TV show shows me a video of a dead grandma walking through a hallway, I'm going to question it and say, well, it's a TV show. And that's something I have to tell people all the time about this TV show, These Woods Are Haunted. At the end of the
Well,
day,
they
they're TV shows.
yeah, it's for entertainment, and they do take certain liberties. I've spoken to people that have been on the show in the past, the same show, and they'll
Well,
say this is what really didn't happen. They did exaggerate this, or they changed this, stuff like that. But it's
they
entertainment, you know.
they do. It's entertainment. And it's nothing more, nothing less with any other TV shows out there. And it don't matter if it's Ghost Hunters, Expedition Bigfoot, Finding Bigfoot, um, Cliff Barrickman, one of my dear friends. I've been on his and Bobo show, Bigfoot and Beyond. I've known Cliff for 20 years and Bobo the same. They'll tell you firsthand, you can't find Bigfoot with an army of production people. You can't
Right.
do it. When there's flashing lights and cameras and everything going on, you can't do it. The people that are going to find Bigfoot are the no names. They're the people that go out in the woods with their cell phone.
Oh yeah,
People that spend,
I've discussed that many times. It's happenstance. I mean, you're at the
yeah,
right place at the
it's
right
all
time.
happenstance.
And it's
Every bit
that
of it is.
fisherman, it's that hiker, it's that biker, it's that jogger, it's somebody riding down the road and it runs across in front of the vehicle. It's just happenstance. You know what I mean?
And it is. And with Bigfoot, the questions are far more than the answers. And with these books that I've been working on, this one in particular, this was the introduction. This is volume one, and you can find this on Hanger One Publishing. You can type in Hanger One Publishing, Michael W. Cook. It takes you right to my author page. I
Yeah, we'll
think
go
it's
over that in just
on.
a sec so everybody will know. Let's see here.
Um,
I'm trying to find. There it is. I'll put that on the screen so everybody can see it.
it it
So where can
you
people
know
get it?
oh, they can get it on Hanger One. If you Google the Bigfoot Volume One Michael W. Cook. You will there's I don't know how many sites have it now. Barnes and Noble. Um, this book, it's always going to be like my favorite. I guess, because it's my first one. I worked on this for 7 years. I started this 7 years ago. And it says on the back cover, what happens when a teenage fishing trip becomes a life altering encounter with the impossible?
Right.
At 16 years old, Michael Cook came face to face with something that would forever change his understanding in the wilderness and launch him into a decades long quest for answers. The Bigfoot takes readers from breathtaking journey from the misty riverbanks of eastern Kentucky to the deepest reaches of scientific inquiry. Drawing on ancient indigenous wisdom, controversial evidence, and cutting edge technology, Cook invites you into a world where the line between legend and reality blurs with each unexplained footprint. Why do why do consistent descriptions of this creature persist across cultures separated by thousands of miles and hundreds of years? What happens? What explains the startling patterns that seemingly unrelated encounters? And perhaps most importantly, what happens when scientific methods collide with experience that defy conventional explanation? Between these pages lurks a mystery larger than the creature itself. Cook masterly navigates the shadowy territory where skepticism meets belief, challenging readers to question not just what might exist in our remaining wilderness, but why we remain so captivated by the unknown. Part personal odyssey, part scientific detective story. This thought provoking exploration will leave you questioning everything you thought you knew about North America's most enduring enigma. And at the very end of that, they put my dad's quote on there. They are out there. But I have a friend that said she wrote the forward to this book, and it's in here. And she says she'll tell you straight up if you're looking for all the answers with this book, you might as well not even read it.
Oh
I don't
yeah, I mean
answer
it.
any I don't answer anything. I present the arguments as to what these creatures are. And when I sat down with Hanger One Publishing, they said volume one. That means there's going to be more volumes. I said, well, there's at least going to be a volume two because I cover a lot about flesh and blood undiscovered species of primate in this book. I'm leaving out arguably half of the argument about what these are. When I wrote this book, I wrote both books together and I took out the supernatural and the woo out of this book. And I've pieced it all together on the second volume. I was originally going to call this book, the next book, The Bigfoot Volume 2, spelled with two O's, and have woo kind of discolored and leave it at that. But the first chapter in this next book that's going to be out in very, very soon is called Beyond the Footprints. And I think that was, I think that is what we're going to call this next book, The Bigfoot Volume 2, Beyond the Footprints, because I go into all the supernatural theories, the Nephilim, the uh, interdimensional beings, aliens, um, the original inhabitants of Earth. And the fact of the matter is, at the end of this next book, here's a spoiler alert. At the end of the next book, I do come together and say, okay, you've read volume one, you've read volume two. Good job. We don't know what we're dealing with. We have no idea.
Hmm.
All these descriptions of these creatures point at a primate. Um, but then cloaking, mind speak, turning into lights. Don't explain that. There's no primate on Earth that does that. Um, on Earth. And I never really tell people what I believe they are now because I don't know. I think they are flesh and blood, born just like everything else on this earth is. But I do think that they are endowed with something that we can't explain, which humans are too. Psychic abilities, um, the remote viewing, and stuff like that. The CIA and armed forces done experiments that have proven that that stuff is possible. It's plausible. But what are they dealing with? You and I were talking earlier. I'm a firm believer that animals communicate telepathically. I mean, I know for a fact I've had dogs that one will be in a completely different room and the other one will be laying on a couch, and you sneak a snack to the one on the couch and he telepathically says, "Hey, get snacks in here."
Yeah.
And the other one
Yeah,
comes running.
that was one of the
Oh.
arguments I had with Ron Moorhead when we talk about mind speak, and this is a long time ago on a podcast. We were having a supposedly it was supposed to have been a debate. But anyways, and he brings it up and I say if it's possible for mind speak, it would have to be interspecies.
Mhm.
Dog to dog, cat to cat, monkey to monkey, or whatever. I don't think a monkey is mind speaking to a cat. A cat is mind speaking to a bird. See what I'm saying?
No, I
It
don't
would
think
have to
so
be
either.
interspecies at best. But
Well,
like you
you know,
said,
you
the dog.
take like you take the twin experiments that they were doing years ago. Um, one twin, you take what was it, identical twins, and you poke. I watched one video a long time ago where they took a stick pin and poked one twin in the hand, and the other twin that was in another
Hmm.
building could tell
Oh yeah,
you that their twin was getting poked in the hand with something.
yeah.
And they
I'm
would
an identical
show
twin.
them,
I'm an
yeah.
identical twin,
So
and
you know what your brother's doing.
well, kind of off the Bigfoot subject, and I'll tell you one of the accounts. It was just really weird. I was stationed in Japan at the time, and my twin brother was in Greece. Okay, we were both in the military. He was in Greece. I was in Japan, and it was really weird because I got up that day and I didn't feel right. I felt this overwhelming anxiety. This something's not right. Something's not right. So I went to, and back then I was in the military in the 80s, early 90s. We didn't have cell phones. There was no internet. There was no email, stuff like that. So you had to find a payphone and call collect from Japan, which is very expensive. But I called my mom, and because something kept telling me call home, call home. So I called home, and then she was frantic on the phone. She's like, we've been trying to figure out how to reach you. Your brother's been injured. He's been hurt. He's okay. It's not, he's going to be okay, but we just want to let you know that he had got injured. And it was just weird. It's one of those moments, and she go, and I made the comment to her, he's going to be okay. I said, he's going to be all right, But what it was he was at the time he was in a Seabees, and he was up on a scaffolding on the side of some metal structure, and he was sanding with a wheel sander, and it caught a bead from a weld, and it kicked it back into his face. So the blade hit him in the face, and to this day, my twin has a scar right here on his chin. But he had some other damage and stuff like that. He was knocked unconscious, so he's hanging from this scaffolding. They had to go up and get him, and all this ordeal and stuff like that. But that we kind of rack it up that I had that same gut feeling all the way in Japan that something wasn't right.
And you can attest that to some kind of unknown telepathic ability. And like you said, with interspecies, uh, dogs, no doubt in my mind, they talk to each other. I've had too many pets in my life to know that they don't talk to each other. Cows, you know, we talk about infrasound a lot in this stuff, and we got hit. Terry Wendell and I got hit with something one night in South Carolina a few years ago, and he and I both had the same experience, and it felt like static electricity. And some Bigfooters call it being zapped, and I never felt that in my life, especially out in the woods. But it felt like static electricity was building up in my chest, and Terry was feeling the same thing. But when we backed up, we quit feeling it. So we were getting hit with something, and we knew that there was something out there. We never saw anything definitive we could say was a Bigfoot, but there was something out there. Um, Terry tells a story all the time. We heard vocalizations that night that will blow your mind. Uh, and the best part about it, Rick, we don't have any proof of it.
Hmm.
We just have each other. We heard we heard a deep, loud, almost male like, and then we heard a real loud, high pitched. I can't do it, so I ain't gonna try. But they were talking back and forth to each other. But we tell people, they say, "Well, where's the recordings at?" I don't have recordings. We were out
Yeah,
there.
I'm
We
that
left
guy
there.
you want to go out with. I'm that guy you want to go out with. I'm constantly recording. I am
I'm
constantly just because I've learned that things happen when you least expect it. I've had
now.
things happen when the moment I stepped out of the car, or I've got I'm just walking to where I want to go and something happened, or on my way back to the vehicle. So I've just gotten that habit where I'm recording. I'm constantly
I,
recording.
I got one for you. Back a few years ago, I was in my research area up in Kentucky. I tell this. I normally reserve this one for conferences, but I'll tell this one. Um, I got off work one night, and I looked at my cameras, and I said, I've got to go change batteries because we had a little cold front coming through, and animals, not just Bigfoot, but most animals move around during those times. That's time to move. It's cold front coming in. They're going to get out, and they're going to move around. So if a deer and squirrel and stuff like this are moving, then Bigfoot's probably going to move too. So I said, I've got, as bad as I hate to, I've got to go change these batteries. So I got my flashlights and everything, and I went out to my research area. It's a pretty good drive out through there, and I left my truck sitting up on top of a little clearing, and I walked down a low logging trail, and I had a camera out there. I went out there, changed the batteries. Nothing that I hadn't done multiple times before. Middle of the night. My mom called me. She hadn't seen me pass by their house, and she was like, "Hey, you working late?" I'm like, "No, I'm out looking for unicorns." She's like, "Well, have fun. Be careful." And nothing more, nothing less. So I'm walking back toward the truck, and I hear something over the ridge here move, and I said, huh, not one time, even though I'm a Bigfooter, and people think that we have Bigfoot on the mind all the time. We don't. I
Yeah.
never thought at that moment that that was a Bigfoot. It's probably a deer or something. I spooked the deer up. So I was just keep on walking, and I hear something down below me, and it goes, "Help." Well, automatically, I go into help mode, and I'm like, "Hey, who's down there?" I scream at them, and they said, "Come down here." And then it laughed,
Mm.
and I went, "Oh no, I'm good."
Yeah, I
So
ain't
I
going
picked
anywhere if
up.
they're laughing.
I'm picking up my steps, and I hear it again, but I don't hear movement. It's right here under the ridge under me. I don't hear it moving. I hear it again. Go, "Where you going?" And I said, "You got to leave me alone. Stay right here. You can't come with me." Because what I learned when dating Gwen is if you go into a house or somewhere that's got paranormal activity, if you tell them theoretically, if you say out loud, "Hey, you got to stay here. You can't come with me," then they can't come with you. They're confined. So I said, "You can't come with me. I'm leaving." So I get on up and I could feel it right there. And I was like, "Oh God, I don't like this. I don't like none of it. I hate anything like that." So I get out to my truck and I get in and I turn the truck on. I smoked at the time. I lit a cigarette up, was getting ready to crack the window. I hadn't cracked the window. And the reason why I mentioned the cigarette is because there was smoke right here. And out of nowhere, window rolled up right here in my ear, and I felt the breath and seen the smoke blow. Go, where you going? But it was
Oh,
stern. I pulled it down and drive and I hauled ass out of there. I never went back to that area again. The cameras, everything's still right there. They're dead. I'll never go back there ever again. If anybody wants to go up there, shoot me a message. You can have the cameras. I don't want them. I have no desire to go back up in that area. And there's certain places I don't go. I
yeah.
don't I
Do
don't feel
you
good
have
about
a
it.
YouTube channel or a website or anything like that that you could tell people to go to?
I have a YouTube channel. It is What's Cooking with Michael Cook. It was a failed podcast that we started. It didn't go anywhere. I don't have the
Yeah.
time. I know you're the same way as I am. You don't have the time, but you do it. I really don't have the time to put into podcasts,
It's a lot of
production and
work.
stuff.
It's a lot of work, you know.
I've had friends,
Um,
Tommy McClure, Terry Wendell. They've told me time and time again, man, you want to do a podcast, you want it to be your podcast, we'll produce it for you and all this stuff. But I'd rather be a guest and do this once, twice a month and be done with it. But What's Cooking with Michael Cook, you'll find a bunch of cooking videos on there. Cause not only am I a Bigfooter, I'm a culinary artist. I cook a lot. I find cooking as therapy. I'm very uh, in fact tonight I think is going to be tortellini soup. Um,
yeah,
but
I'm getting kind of
also
hungry. It's 9 o'clock here, and I'm like, man, I have not ate since yesterday. But I do
I
these long periods
ate.
of fasting. I fast a lot, so
Well,
but it's at that point.
I do the 16/8 fast. So today I ate my protein breakfast burrito at 4. I was like
Yeah.
you, I took a nap before this and I got a transition. I work at swing shift, so I've been on nights. I come off nights yesterday morning and I'll transition back to days Saturday morning.
Mm.
So I got 5 days of days coming up and my body don't know what to do half the time. Um but no, I do that and I've got a TikTok. Michael W. Cook, I think is what it is. The best way to find me is Facebook. Cook Cryptid Research on Facebook and Michael W. Cook.
Cook Cook cryptid research.
Hmm. And
Okay.
it's the same badge, the picture that you showed earlier. Um, then yeah, I got that, and then I've got my personal Facebook page. I and don't by all means don't think this is me being a certain way. Lately, I have denied friend requests from people I don't know, even though you might be mutual friends with 400 people in the Bigfoot community. I don't personally know you. And if you're going to add me as a friend, at least send me a message and say, hey, man, I heard you on Sasquatch Redacted or something, or I saw you on these woods are haunted or whatever, and um, you can find me on reruns on Travel Channel. I'm on Paranormal Call on Camera and These Woods Are Haunted. I gotta. We start filming next spring on a brand new show. I can't talk about much. I can say there is a new show coming out, and this face is going to be the face of it. Then I'm
Yeah,
been in the
you
recording.
gotta give me a call. You have to give me a call when that starts to come out. Let me know so I can look for it.
We have started pre-promotion for this new show coming out around the same time we start filming this live action show. Um, it is a live action show. Think of Bizarre Foods meets Expedition Unknown. And hello from Houston. Hi. Um, the Think of it as Bizarre Foods goes Expedition Unknown, and we'll leave it at that. But we started doing pre-promotion on this stuff for the last 12 months. I have been in the recording studio at least once a week doing voiceover work for a new cartoon coming out. And it's
Oh, nice.
called Bigfoot and Friends Cryptid Rescue Team. And I play, surprise, surprise, I play a Bigfoot. Um, you will never know that it's me though. Like if you just pull the show up when it comes out on Discovery Kids and and listen
Now
to
how
it,
they
you'll
gonna make
think
now how they gonna make 5'9" look 6'9"?
I have no idea. I had to do a I have seen the storyboards. They've got my character. He's got my proportions, but he's a little bit bigger. I had to do this weird thing last summer. I had to shave all this off, and that was horrible because I lose 10 years quick. I had to shave all this off, and they put these dots. They glued these dots all over my face and even on my ears. And I had to sit in front of a camera like this. It's about like that. And I had to do this
Mhm.
for about 5 hours. And I had to look this way and that way. And it's for an episode. The whole show is animated. It's cartoon. It's for an episode that kind of. I'm trying to think of how I can say this without giving too much away. And they calling me and telling me you said this. It's kind of like
Yeah, don't do it. Don't do it.
they cross over to a dimension where things are more 3D and everything. Here's the crazy thing though, Rick. I play Hillbilly Squatch. His whole name is Hillis Williams Washington. Um, he's a little Bigfoot, and the premise of the show is the Mothman. This guy has been captured by the Men in Black and taken to an unknown location. And it is up to me and a team of cryptids to go find him. And I think we're looking at an 11 episode run for the first season. And you'll have characters like the Loch Ness Monster. She is pretty cool. You have the Chupacabra, um, a variation of the Mothman, one of the one of the Mothmen. You have another Bigfoot. He's a Yowie. I play his voice too. He's an Australian Yowie. I played three different voices in the show, and the last voice is the one that I've liked the most because it's me. I don't have to put no accent on it. I don't have to do anything
Well, when
like
you
that. I
can,
play.
yeah, when you can get more into it, we'll have to have you back on the show so you could promote it and
I
let us
have
know where we can go to
I've been
see
able
all
I've
this
been
stuff.
able to be myself on this character. He is a Bigfoot researcher who joins the team of cryptids unknowingly, and and by the way, I'm saying this word for word of what I can say and what I can't say. So, he joins the team of cryptids and all this stuff. I also, for those of you that know me, I've also been doing the soundtrack. We have it's a lot of songs you and I will be will like. It's a lot of Journey, some Guns N' Roses stuff, and
Mm.
it's yeah, I've been recording a soundtrack for that too. But the it looks Discovery Kids has picked it up, so it'll be, once we get everything done, all the voiceover work done, animation is working right now. I've seen some clips and stuff that is beautiful. The colors they're using is just beautiful. It's not like cartoons. I think the best cartoons were when we were kids, Bugs Bunny, and stuff like that. Flintstones. I thought those were the best cartoons.
Yeah.
But this one, I always wanted to be a cartoon character. My brother says, "Well, you've always been a cartoon character." So, but no,
I don't know.
it's
I've
going to
had
be
people say
something.
when they look into my eyes, they see a cartoon.
Yeah.
So,
It's harder than what I thought it would be. You People think that it's just standing in front of a microphone and talking. If they don't like the production engineers, if they don't like how I said something, they'll hit and they'll copy and delete and say, okay, that's that it didn't even exist. Say it again.
mm,
This time, act more excited, or production managers and production or recording engineers are relentless. But it's fun. It's something to do. But that will be out next spring. Hopefully, I think it's in the spring sweeps uh, schedule. So once they get everything, all the
you know what
animation,
network it's going to be on?
it's going to be on Discovery Kids on Discovery Plus streaming.
Okay.
So that will be something. And I've got a thing I got to do. I can't. I do have a thing I've got to do in the next month. I've got to travel for that though. It's for a revamped or a rebooted show that used to be on TV. I think I'm doing one episode. Um, I think I don't know. I have to talk to him about that. But there's all kinds of stuff going on, and next year is going to open up some more time for me. I've got a few things I've got coming up here. I don't know how far your reach goes. And let's see, in June I'll be at the first ever Arkansas uh, Bigfoot Festival. I'm a VIP speaker, whatever that means. This will be in Little Rock, Arkansas, North Little Rock. And then in August, I am going to be at the Marion County or Marion, North Carolina Bigfoot Festival as a speaker there. And then I have the South Carolina Bigfoot Festival, which is in Westminster, South Carolina. It's in October. And I feel like I'm leaving one out, but I'm pretty sure I cut down with my schedule and stuff, work and work, the cartoon and stuff. I've had to cut down on some appearances, but if you follow me on Facebook or Instagram or even X, that's another thing. If you follow me on X, I don't I don't control X. I don't have any. That's a publicist company that does that. So if you send the message on X and I don't reply, I don't think I even have X on my phone. I don't think I have Twitter on my phone. I don't I don't do that. I don't whatever it's called. I don't run that page. But the Facebook page, if you want to shoot me a message on Facebook, give me a day. If I don't reply to you, don't be mad. Give me a day and I will reply. I'm always amped up to listen to somebody's story. or talk about baseball if you're an Angels fan. Then I like that. And Roll Tide all the way. And of course, can't leave out my cats, my UK basketball cats. Football team is the jury's out on that, but Roll Tide all the way. Um, and if you're in the Birmingham, I won't say exactly where I live at, but if you're in the Birmingham vicinity of Alabama and you're passing through, you want to grab something to eat or something, you want to sit down and talk Bigfoot or talk about anything, I'm always looking for friends. I'm always looking for companionship. I'm totally by myself down here.
Mm.
So
Yeah, that's
I know
how I
that was a
research. I'm by myself. I don't have a team or anything like that. I do it all myself. Um, Now, of course, this show I have, me and Johnny are a team and we do the show. But outside of that, he has his own research. Um, so I'll put that up there so people. So Johnny has the Sasquatch Encounter Brigade. That's on Facebook and YouTube, and that's his research channel. So if anybody's interested in watch what Johnny's doing, because he's on that unique position where he's having actual Bigfoot stuff going on the property around his house. So he's not like me where he has to jump in the vehicle and travel somewhere all the time. He does travel though, so he does go to other locations. Um, then of course I've got my channel, which is on big. I have a Facebook page and I got a YouTube channel called Bigfoot Florida Guy. Um, I haven't done any live stuff out in the woods in quite some time, but I will be getting back into that. But it's an entertaining channel. I love it. I've been doing it for a few years, and so love to have new subscribers on the Bigfoot Florida Guy. And then of course we've got this channel right here. We have a Facebook page and a YouTube page. So if anybody wants to we definitely, like I said, we missed the goal this year. I wanted 500 subscribers for Sasquatch Unredacted. We got 491, so we came close. But we'll shoot for
well,
1,000 for this next year. So
I've got a I've got a few more things coming up, but if you get on Facebook and stuff, you'll see some stuff. I got a comedy tour coming out. I think next year I'm going to be doing a few stand up sessions. I used to do that all the time, and I kind of fell out of it, but uh, I'm under publicist obligations and contractual obligations now where I need to get out more. The the best place, if you, I tell you what, I'll say this: if you come to somewhere I'm speaking at this year, and you say you heard me on Sasquatch Redacted, I'll tell you what, I'll sign one of these books and it's all yours. And and you don't owe me nothing but a handshake and a hug. And a hug is I don't like people touching me. You have to. I'll say this, and I don't mean this by any way, shape, or form. You have to be plumbed right to hug me. If you're a 300-pound man covered in sweat, I don't want to hug you. I don't want to hug you. But that goes with closing statements on this, folks. We live in a time, and I'm speaking directly to everybody out there. We live in a time now where uncertainty is very real, whether it be Bigfoot or whatever. And I'm not a political person. I'm not a religious person. I am a person. And I truly believe that Bigfoot and the broader vision of things, Bigfoot-ing, Bigfoot festivals, Bigfoot conferences are the only places where it doesn't matter whether you're left or right, Republican, Democrat, gay or straight, black or white. It doesn't matter. We are there for one purpose. It's because we love this stuff and we like learning about it. And during these times we live in, like I said, I'm not a religious person. I'm very spiritual, though. Learn to pray. It's good for you. Pray for everybody out there. But before you pray for people you love, pray for people you hate. And your differences aside, pray for everybody up in Minneapolis right now and California. That stuff's a mess. None of that needs to ever happen on both sides. And a news flash to everybody out there: America is one of the most lenient places on earth when it comes to immigration. Most places out there, if you get caught in their country illegally, you don't get hauled off and see your family on the other side. You get offed and you see your family on the other side. We are one of the most lenient places on earth when it comes to immigration. And I know, and Rick knows people that's probably here illegally. They're good people. It is what it is. But neither side needs to be doing what they're doing right now. And it's just like Rodney
Well, with
King
that,
said back in the 90s, brother. Can't we all just get along?
that's it. It's I always have that saying that if I hate using the word hate, but if I hate somebody, they never know it. They never know.
No. Pray for the
So,
people you don't like more than you pray for the people you like. Those are the ones who need it.
but all right. Well, this is almost 2.5 hours. It's been a great show. I'm
This is Joe
gonna
Rogan show
drop.
right here.
I've had some long ones. I've had some go 3 or 4 hours. I think Mike Middleton, matter of fact, that was a long one. Or Frank Middleton. I don't remember. I've had some long shows, but anyways, good times, a lot of fun. I'll drop you backstage because I'll talk to you when I do the outro, and I want to pass on some information so you can get in touch with Icebox and talk to him. He's the one who put that up there. He's a Alabama fan and
Roll
also has a
Tide,
Bigfoot
baby.
channel, so we can get you over there, and so I'll hook you up with him. But so everybody, check out the book. And what does he say here? Love that. I really appreciate this show. Thanks for. So if anybody, we'll throw a message up there because we're about to end this thing. This is, I love that. I really appreciate this show. Thank you for sharing your experiences, knowledge, and encounters with us. Fantastic interview, Richard. And excellent advice, Michael. Well, and it's been a while. We haven't seen you in a while, Varax. I don't know where you've been, but it's good to see you tonight, buddy. Really good to see you. So, anyways, keep me informed on what's going on in your world, and if you got big things coming up, we'll have you back on the show so you can promote those things and stuff like that. And so we'll be talking to you soon. Okay, Mike?
All righty, buddy. Thank you all for listening to me.
No problem, buddy. I'm going to drop you back now. All right, guys, great show. Again, stay warm. I know the whole country seems to be cold tonight. It's freezing here. Periodically, I've been checking the weather. It's freezing. It's cold. So take care of yourselves. I hope everybody's having a fantastic new year. I'm blessed. I think life is wonderful. I hope you guys are doing great. God bless each and every one of you guys. And we'll be talking to you soon. We have another guest next week. I think is going to be very exciting, a lot of fun. I got some pictures and some video, so I'm looking forward to talking to this guy. And some of you guys may recognize the video because it really blew up back in 2012. So watch us next week, and we'll have a great show. Talk to you again later, guys. God bless.